Is that still?
Okay.
Oh, we're ready.
Yep,
Oh,
might as well
No.
get started here since we're running behind anyway. All right, we'll call the April 22nd, 2025 Facilities Committee meeting with East End Central School Board to order. We don't have a whole lengthy agenda today, fortunately. First item on the agenda is Sam has a presentation for us on purchasing and how all that good stuff works. So we'll turn it over to you if you can.
I'm just, well, wait till he has a minute.
He's trying to share his screen.
Yep.
Yeah, quick reopen. Leave meeting. Sorry, we're
No, take
facing
your time.
technical difficulties.
Take your time.
Excellent. And then go back to your calendar. Just kick you out of Zoom. Click on Zoom link again. Join. I would share again. There you go. Share that. To share. Okay. They're off and running.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so I just put, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, if I could just ask a real quick question before you start. Thank you for putting this together, but is there anything in this presentation that's different from what's in our policies or the state law that already dictates when we have to bid and all that?
Nothing different.
Okay, so this is just education.
This is just a short
Okay,
summary of how we
no,
Yeah.
it's good.
process things on the property service side.
Okay, thank you.
All righty,
All right,
it's all yours.
so uniform guidance, guidelines, and stages for purchasing. These are the state policies, section 807 for furniture, equipment and supplies. That's where, for the most part, things that we buy every year, the bidding went out for that a couple weeks ago. And the bids are coming back now, for this next fiscal year. And then the next one is for construction, reconstruction, repairs and maintenance. And that describes, if we need to use an architect for a project, that architect can't be connected to a construction company that comes in here. It must be third party. It goes into those details. And then the Act 97, this is what's most important for us on a day-to-day basis. So we can direct purchase up to the $12,899, and that's new. Every year, those thresholds get adjusted based on inflation. So we don't need to get 3 quotes. I mean, we still try to, but if an emergency or something comes up that we need to repair, we can go up to that $12,899 without having to shop around and spend a bunch of time. And then from the 12/9 to the 23/799, we're required to get 3 quotes, which we do every time. And then anything over that 23/799, that goes to competitive bid. And since I'm new to the game, I just started working with Julie and putting things out for competitive bid. We have 1 out right now, and I have 2 more that are coming. I sent her 1 this morning. So, that's so anybody can bid on them. It doesn't have to be someone's connected to the state, whether it's a co-op or whatever.
Great.
And then we're supposed to award to the lowest responsible bidder. That doesn't mean that we always have to do the lowest bid. But if we don't choose the lowest bid, we have to give a summary of, their craftsmanship or something like that has shown poor in the past. And we decided to go with a different company. So it has the item expectations. That's basically your scope of work that you build for whatever project or equipment that you're looking for. And then we can't split up orders to avoid bid. So meaning, we have different schools. So if we do a similar project at a different school, that's okay. But we can't do concrete work on, if we were gonna do it here, we can't do the CTC. It's connected to the high school and also another project for the high school. Those would have to be combined as one property for one project.
Mhm. That's very, yeah, a lot of people get confused on that. Building is separate.
So this is just the difference between the federal funds and the state fund thresholds. Whether a request for proposals required or not. Number of quotes. The funding limits are a little different between the two for federal and state. And then we'll get into a couple other differences in the next slides, but I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. I just wanted to highlight that there are differences. And you can see the dollar amounts, how they've changed from 2024 to 2025. So this is a big one. As I'm learning here, I went to the PASBO conference and I talked to a lot of finance or facilities folks from different school districts.
Great.
And I've learned more about this co-op purchasing. I've never been involved with it before in my past, but this eliminates the need to use 3 bids. It eliminates the need to do the public bidding process. It is still advised if you're going to use co-op purchasing groups, you get at least 2 of them to compete against each other. The gentleman that did the facilities group presentation down in Hershey, he said this is how he does business, majority of the time. And it's going through a CoStar company. A lot of times he'll grab 2 CoStar companies and have them bid against each other. But you also have the KPN group, the PPM, and the newer one is the Omnia Partners, intermediate units. They have catalog bids. There's a lot of different co-op purchasing groups that you can use out there. The highlight is that you can, so in Pennsylvania, CoStars is by far the biggest one that's used by
Mhm.
school districts.
Yep.
But they aren't eligible for federal funds.
Another side note too, is that a lot of our local companies, because we do talk about local, are on CoStars.
That's what we try, that's what we hope.
Yes.
They
Yes,
sign up.
we've noticed that a lot of them are.
So I went through the different options. And it says, like the PPM and the KPN, you can use those for federal or state. There's discounts, it replaces the bid process.
Would you be so kind to consider not using acronyms or put the fully spelled out and then putting the acronym in parentheses because no one's gonna.
I don't even know them all, to be honest with you.
Well, that's why I'm saying.
I would
if you
have to
could-
read them.
If they could
Yeah.
be spelled out and then
Yep.
that would be so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and the PA CoStars at the bottom there, like I said, it's recognized for state funds, can't be used for federal. They do recommend that you negotiate pricing. They said sometimes even when they give you a final, a quote, that you can.
Oh, yes, we can.
You can negotiate with them. And then I put on here, so since I've been working here last 8 months, we've reached out to some of the local contractors and encouraged them to become CoStar contractors. And right now we have an electrical, an HVAC, general construction, a painting group, and a furniture group.
Okay. Would you prefer I wait till questions at the end or how do you want to do this?
You can
Samson?
ask.
Okay, I just want to, okay, thank you. When you get the chance, which is wonderful to build these relationships with our local folks, you
Mhm.
know. Do you find, or do you have an opportunity to ask them if they say, no, I don't want to do CoStars, what would get them to cross that bridge? Or what's holding them back from crossing the bridge? Have they,
I think the history of, what we did find is some of the contractors did have co-stars in the past,
Mhm.
and never got work here. So they never renewed. And now that I've talked to some of them, they've renewed and updated their status with the co-stars program. I think the difficult piece is it's a little extra paperwork for them that's required.
And they might not need the work.
Or they might be so busy with what they have right now that they don't need the work.
Sure.
You know, getting into a school and bidding on big jobs with a prevailing wage is difficult. And then, also some of the clearances, you know, smaller construction companies
Sure,
with small crews and clearances,
I get that.
people rotate in and out all the time, so it's, you know, that's one of the reasons that a lot of the smaller folks around here just don't bother with it.
So I can see how co-stars might be, maybe they mentioned this at the workshop. It might be like if we lived in Philly or outside of Harris, I mean, not lived, if our school district was in a larger metropolitan area, they might have more people with co-stars. That's sort of where
And you're absolutely correct.
okay,
Most of the co-stars company that have been used here in the past have been from, you know, Lewistown, Lewisburg, down towards Harrisburg. So that is absolutely true. And that's where putting things out for public bid
mhm.
is how we hope to attract some of the local folks here.
Great, that would be lovely. Keep the money here.
So,
Okay, thank you. That was very helpful.
yep. And then that's it. It was just
Oh.
a short overview.
That's right.
Anything else?
No, that would be very good. If you wouldn't mind just keeping that consideration and spelling those out for everyone. That would be very helpful.
All right.
Saves everyone a step.
Guess the next two items for discussion are, first two are pretty much intertwined because they're both dealing with sound systems. So one is a new replacing the sound system in the gym here, in and out at the stadium as well. And I know from personal experience, that one up at the stadium is really in bad shape. They've had all kinds of issues with it. So it definitely needs to be replaced, and I'm guessing that the other one is pretty much in the same shape. They're both very old. And so I don't know what else you
Yes,
want
so-
to add to that.
We had kind of an experiment here with the auditorium. And I'm told it's a phenomenal difference. All the sound systems were originally installed to the school or facility. And, you know, the one at the stadium is 20+ years old, and the one in the gymnasium is 25+ years old. So replacing both of those is what we're trying to do. They're not that expensive, and they're on their 10-year plan. And I'm just waiting on quotes. I was hoping the quotes would be back today so I could have them for this meeting, but I haven't received any.
Do you have any ballpark dollar figures?
We were figuring about 25,
That's what we're.
25,000 each.
hearing Each, yeah.
Okay.
The auditorium was right around, what, 20?
Okay, thank you. All right, and I don't want to sound rude, but I did have some comments from some people that went to Chicago and they loved it. They loved watching the kids, but they said the sound system was difficult for them to hear sometimes, and other times it was very loud. So, Central Mountain High School Auditorium. Now, this is what I'm asking. Have you put together a list of potential sponsors to sponsor this equipment yet? And if you haven't, please consider doing that. So as your quotes come in, if the administration, the majority of the board will seek sponsors for the audio equipment, or even to do 50-50 and have something, some recognition for those individuals or businesses, because those are two highly beloved areas. And I think that there might be some interest out there with the understanding that I'm not sure what your timeline is, but these are perfect places to start that process. So that's how I feel about this right now. So please talk amongst yourselves. And maybe even the company that you find IT under, is it better fit with IT or whatever? Maybe even that company has some sort of sponsorship also. Who knows?
Mhm.
But this is a perfect example where I believe our community will step up to the plate if they just are asked.
Well,
Can I ask a question for that?
mhm.
Please.
Can we publicly solicit for that in the newspaper or anything? Social media? I don't know.
It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Sure, either.
That's
There,
maybe a question for David.
I was gonna say, beautiful question for David, because whenever we do donations, like the whole football complex up here at the high school, that was completely done with original donations, and there was paperwork. I was not involved at that time. But there is specific, very simple things that aren't complex. David, the solicitor for the school district, David Lindsay, is absolutely go-to person. So as far as advertising and things like that, I don't, again, it's up to the solicitor and the laws, but I'll be honest with you, with all the different bingos and everything that everyone does fundraisers for, plus we have the Keystone Foundation, that they may be interested in partnering with us. I mean, this, I think, would be a good, simple segue into that whole new world for us. Good questions.
Okay. I don't know who would head that up, but, and we'd have to find out how that would
Excuse me.
actually look and what the process would be. But I know that we aren't going to have a ton of time to get this installed, at least at the stadium for fall, or
That would be
Yeah.
ideal, is if we could get all of this done over the summer.
I would love to have, especially the one they'll need for football and so on, soccer and the fall sports.
I do know that the ITs have already had, they had people in here to do, sound audits and whatnot at both places. So I'm strictly working with them on this and I'll figure out the donation sponsorship. Work with Frank on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, the Keystone Foundation, they're experts
Hmm.
too, they're here to support the kids.
Okay. Hopefully we can get that in place for over the summer ready to go for the new school year. So the last item, I asked to put this on here because I wanted to come back and revisit it. Because I think it needs to be rediscussed for a variety of reasons. Since the head of the Borough Council was here at our last meeting,
Tell me.
and he was asking for some assistance from us to solve the ongoing problem that we've had a problem with for as long as I can remember, with the sewer system being clogged up with paper towels. We do have a relatively inexpensive and easy fix to the problem, in my opinion. If you recall, a couple months ago, I guess it was, when the mayor and a couple of the other folks were here asking for donations for the pool. And we were very much in favor of that. However, we didn't feel that we had the wherewithal in the budget to do that, even though legally, I guess, from what David told us, we were allowed to do that. So I think if we were willing to do that, we were willing to, as a board, to support that. I think under the category of maintaining a good working relationship with the Mill Hall Borough, since they, as they pointed out, we do use the baseball field. They do maintain it for us. The Mill Hall Elementary students use the Mill Hall Park, community park over there for different activities, especially towards the end of the year. I think that this is it's just an ongoing problem, and it's an easy fix for what, $5,000 or whatever it was that you got a quote for us on. As was pointed out, the paper towels, granted, are probably more hygienically a better option in that regard than the hand dryers. But in doing a little bit of research on my own, I'm finding that there has never been any documented cases of any kind of illness or whatever being spread because of the bacteria spread from the hand dryers. We also have hand dryers throughout this building, and I think most of the restrooms. We really haven't had any issues with that over the years. I even think there may be one or two over in the middle school already. There are just too many positives. We wouldn't have to buy paper towels. The money that I don't know how much we would save by not making that purchase, but I'm assuming it's fairly significant amount when you talk about for a building the size of that middle school. And as you're always pointing out, we have to look at things from an environmental standpoint where we would be saving, just putting all those paper towels into the landfill. I'm sure they're not being recycled.
Oh, let's hope not.
And there are, not to mention all the trees that we would be saving.
Excuse me.
So there are a lot of points that I think we need to reconsider this. I think it's very short-sighted on our part to not do that, because I know Frank and Sam are tired of dealing with that problem, with the sewer problem, and having them come to us, constantly. And for that amount of money, I think we could pretty much eliminate that problem. So I really think that we need to reconsider that whole topic for those reasons. So that's why I put it back on here. So,
Okay. Well, I heard you, Jeff. And,
they're your constituents.
well, if we do we want to dive deep into this now, or do you want to wait until the work session? What do you want to do? Because I have a way to discuss this, but if you rather wait until the work session, do you folks have a few minutes? Or do you want to, okay?
I'm good.
All right,
I
okay,
am too.
all right. So I'm not against hand dryers, electric hand dryers.
Then why'd you vote against it?
There's a couple reasons, and if you bear with me, we can sort of chip away at this. Of all of our school buildings, the ones that have paper towels right now, Liberty Curtain, excuse me, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold residual. Liberty Curtain, and Sam, please correct me, or someone correct me if I'm wrong. Liberty Curtain, Mill Hall Elementary, Mill Hall Middle School, Robb, and Woodward. Is that correct? And then the hand dryers, electric ones, are just here.
All the hand dryers in the district are here, and there's 2 bathrooms at the middle school that have
Okay, but everybody else is paper towels, correct?
everybody else.
Okay, so of all the other school buildings, roughly, how often does a sewer backup or a sewer clog happen because of paper towels? Roughly, just roughly in the last, I know you've only been here a year, but I know the history for 10 years because I live next door, but have they
Most of
given
our
you
plumbing
like,
issues are here and the middle school.
okay. So this paper towel issue appears to have started, I'm gonna guess. Rob Pasella was here, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 years ago. But Tony, the borough would know better, so I'm just gonna say 5 right now, just to give us a benchmark. So if students are doing this, but those students are no longer at that building anymore, but the problem keeps happening. That's the way I'm viewing this. So I backed up from there. So then my question was, when was the last time that sewer line, once it leaves the public spot and travels across district property, when was the last time that was cameraed and videoed?
So if I could clarify, my understanding is the line that comes from the middle school in Mill Hall, it's terminated, it starts there. And then those pictures that they showed us is where it connects to
Right,
the other place. So it's not as if, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not as if the neighborhood that's behind Central Mountain Middle School, their sewer doesn't filter through the pipes or doesn't pass through the pipes that go through the middle school.
right. So that's why they feel fairly confident, and they did the different colors and things like that. So here's my question. So the district owns the sewer line as soon as it leaves the public right of way and it goes onto our own private property. That's the line that I'm talking about. When was the last time, do you believe it might have happened where we cameraed from where it stops at the public right of way, where the borough is irresponsible, and the sewer pipe travels across district property to the building? Do you know when that last time it was cameraed and videoed? That
Not in my
section.
time, I have no idea.
I've never heard of it being done either. So here's my question. Hypothetically, let's just say we put this on the agenda and it gets voted to replace, and then you give us a price for all the electrical and everything else that you need to do. So we have a full price, okay, for everything. But let's say we install that and do that, and the problem consistently happens again, which means we never really found the original problem. Is it the kids undeniably throwing paper towels into the toilets or what have you? Is it somebody else? Is there a problem with the sewer line that the gravity or whatever is causing this clogging, that it's not running at the right time? I don't know what the answer is. What I'm saying is, what's plan B? If all those other little things haven't been determined yet, what's plan B if the problem consistently happens after paper towels are taken out of all the bathrooms? Because we don't know if those paper towels are actually happening in the bathroom. Is it happening by a student? Is it happening by staff? Is the paper towels entering the system in some other toilet? I don't know. But I'm just saying, what's plan B if we go ahead and do all this and we still have the
Well,
problem?
I can tell you what plan B is.
Great,
So we would have to put a septic system and basically a containment system on our property with a grinder pump, push it back to the town.
well,
That's the only way for us to eliminate the problem that we potentially are causing from going into Mill Hall Borough.
okay.
And you're gonna have to do the same thing with probably Bald Eagle.
Okay, well, here's my question. Has the borough, now I know they helped me out as a homeowner. I had to redo my sewer line, my water line. That's how I learned all of this. Have they offered to partner with us to allow us for them to use their camera and video our line as it crosses our property?
They've never asked about a camera, but I let them in every one of the manholes on the sewer system all over Mill Hall Borough, all around Central Mountain Middle School.
Okay, well, if you could maybe consider finding out, are they finding that our pipes are okay? Are they large enough? Is the diameter large enough? So that could also be another issue. If those pipes were laid in the 50s or 60s, who knows? What I'm saying is, if we could just have that base of information first before a decision is made about the hand dryers, I think that would make everyone feel better about this. Because if the problem persists,
Who's
Af-
gonna do that? Who is gonna do that? Are we gonna pay for that?
well,
To run a camera through there, or is that gonna be up to us to do that?
I don't know. That's why I was asking Sam if he would partner. The borough has cameras and all the equipment. You know, because with new laws, you have to before you sell a house or buy a house. So maybe they would help us out here and camera our lines so we know what our pipes look like. I don't know. I'm not saying that is the answer. I'm just saying, what's plan B? If we haven't already, if we don't have that basis of information to go fall back on, say, well, look, you know, if we fix all the hand dryers, I'm sorry, if we go to all electric hand dryers and the problem still persists, that means we never caught the original cause of the problem.
Well, I think that if you talk to the borough, they will tell you, as he said at the meeting, as they've told us before, that is the problem. Those things are being put down those sewers, whether it's coming through toilets or whatever. That's what's making the clog. And it doesn't take any rocket scientists to figure out that if we eliminate the paper towels coming down through there, we're gonna there's probably a 95% chance that we're gonna eliminate the problem. I don't want to continue to prolong things and just keep beating the same horse. And I don't, you've said for, I don't know how many times, sitting at these meetings, we need hand dryers. Now, all of a sudden, we have a complete about face, and I don't get it. Why is that? Explain that to me. Butch said the same thing. I'm totally confused as to why. I have a pretty good idea why. All it takes is Chris Scaff to come over here and quote 2 or 3 studies that somebody gave him from the internet. Now, all of a sudden, we're doing a complete about face on it. And I don't understand it. Explain that to me, please.
Oh, of course, Jeff. When I first brought this up was when, like I said, I think it was 5 years ago when Rob Pasella let us know that what the borough was having a situation with. So I just shared at the facilities committee meeting
More than
that
once.
Lock Haven University had the Georgia Pacific, excuse me, manual where you, excuse me, towels are on a roll. They're perforated. So you pull down a piece, it's not electrical, you pull down a piece and you get a little piece of paper towel to wipe your hands. And that's how this whole conversation started. So you have a little more control. It makes a noise, a cranking noise when you pull that little piece of paper towel. So you would have to sit there and pull, crank, 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 pull, crank, 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 pull.
And kids aren't going to do that.
Well, that's
You
how
don't
the
know
whole
kids very well.
conversation got started, and we never went any farther with it. It just fell off the face of the earth for a couple of years. And then it popped back up to electric hand dryers. But like I said, I don't know if Rob Pasella, maybe if you want to call him, ask him, did the borough and him ever camera our sewer lines?
I don't know that that's even relevant to this conversation. I think it's just a stall tactic. And I think
Okay.
that, as I said, this has been brought up by you more than once. And and whether they're perforated towels or what kind of, that's totally irrelevant. Because middle school kids are going to take those and pull them off one after another, and they're still going to shove them down the toilets, and they're still going to be in the paper, in the line. Whether they're perforated or whatever they are.
Okay, so we're
So-
positive that it's students and not any staff members. You're positive?
Come on.
No, I'm just,
What adults are going to be shoving paper towels down the toilet? Now, get
I'm
real.
not saying they are, Jeff. I'm not saying they are, but what I'm saying is What's plan B if this doesn't work the way we want it to do? That's all.
Well, then we put in then we do what Sam said.
Yeah.
Then we put in a whole septic system. I really don't think it's gonna have to be, that's gonna have to be done. I would be totally shocked if that doesn't eliminate the problem altogether.
Well, maybe you
So-
might be interested to find out what the principal, I mean, what sort of challenges are they having that this is still an ongoing problem?
You cannot monitor a bathroom completely all the time when you have 1,000 kids in a building.
Okay,
So
Fair
this is,
enough.
this is something that's come up to me in essentially all the schools that I've worked in. When we were in Washington, it was we eventually found out because it was the fourth grade girls who were flushing entire rolls of toilet paper down, causing the same sort of a problem. So it's not something that's unique or weird to us. It's just for whatever reason, seems to be that not all students understand the downstream, so to speak, repercussions of putting things in the toilet that they shouldn't.
okay. Well, then this segues to the other conversation that happened prior to you. Was fortunately Crabtree ran with the idea when I brought up the anti-bullying toilet design for the sinks, where the sinks in the cleaning area is visible
Yeah.
to the hallway, and the bathroom private areas are behind that wall. And we had briefly talked about it in one of the two main bathrooms here at the high school, but that conversation went away. So my next question is, would Plan B, if this doesn't work, just to put in the back of your mind that those conversations did take place a couple years back where the hand washing area was actually visible from the hallway, but toilet areas were behind the wall. Now that, I don't know, I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just letting you giving you some history.
So was that renovation looked into here?
No, it
Nice
was, it did never
Sure
went
it wasn't.
anywhere. It never went anywhere.
I can't
But
imagine
it was a
costs.
conversation. I'm just giving you a little
Well,
history.
That would be so cost prohibitive that you wouldn't even
That's
be
millions of
able
dollars.
to consider that.
No, I'm just giving you some history. So I don't know however the rest of the board wants to go, but I just think moving forward, it just seems odd that the same problem just doesn't go away even after the children are
I don't,
moved to another school.
I don't think it's odd at all. Again, I think it's something about student behavior that is fairly typical in all the schools that I've worked in. Whether or not it's appropriate, whether or not we like it, it seems to happen with kids kind of everywhere.
And that's true.
I mean, I know my personal children, never mind. It's common for kids to put things in the toilet that don't belong there.
Fished out an orange last week. So, here at the high school.
So,
So moving forward on this, is it the committee's request that we put this on the work study agenda?
I would like to see it revisited. And that point out the things that the reasons that I would like to have it revisited to everybody. And I know that not everybody will buy into it. I can guarantee you there'll be 4 people that won't buy into it, but I would like to have another discussion on it.
That's the consensus of the group. We can put it on there. If it's not the consensus of the group, then your board members, of course, can ask the board chair to include something on the agenda.
Well, I can say this, since it's gonna be a null void thing, because obviously I personally like to know the back history of the issue. And I truly believe that if our sewer line the diameter may just not be big enough. And that's why things keep clogging up, or maybe the slope is incorrect because it's a gravity fed system.
So we're gonna go in and redo our whole sewer line when we could spend $5,000 on hand dryers, which probably will solve the problem.
Well,
I mean,
that's your,
that doesn't make any sense.
no, that's not what I said. I just said, Jeff,
Well,
please, please.
You just said that.
No, I did. I-
If the line isn't big enough. So how do
We
we
don't-
correct that?
Wouldn't it be to our advantage to know the status of the sewer pipe if the borough is willing to partner with us and do this with us? Wouldn't that be an advantage to know now? Whether or not this goes through, but I will say this also. I don't believe I should hold up the rest of the board having a discussion on this if it's gonna be brought up on the agenda again. So I'm not going to do that to the rest of the board members. They have a choice, they have a voice, and I'm not gonna curtail it. So Chair, if you would like to put it on the agenda with the superintendent, that's your choice. I will not hinder any of the other board members.
Okay,
Okay.
then we will do that.
So follow up though, is this something that administration might be interested to contact the borough to see if we
Yeah,
could
it-
Yeah, I
partner?
can.
It doesn't hurt.
That would be
Certainly ask the
lovely.
question.
And that way we'll know for sure if we have something down the road we need to look at.
I have many questions, to be honest.
Well, I'm fascinated by it. I wish I could be there because I'm fascinated by infrastructure.
How
So
many students different is it now than it was when it was 7 through 12?
it used to be a high school.
That's
Remember
what I mean.
that?
I went there,
You graduated from high school there.
yeah,
I heard it was pretty, yeah,
but I
good.
mean, it was 7th through 12th grade.
Mhm. Yeah,
I graduated in 1998, and I'm sure there was 1,000 people in that school.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I can't believe that there were any less kids there then
And
than
here we
there are
are.
now.
What,
300 and some.
almost 27, 28 years
You're
later.
talking about Baldwin, Ben.
Yeah.
But-
Ben, yeah.
I graduated from
Oh, did you?
there.
It was a good culture. I heard a lot of
7th
good
through 12th
stories.
grade, we had 1,000 kids, maybe.
So I just don't understand what changed between then and now.
Bingo. Thank you, Sam.
But
A lot more kids.
I think our
There's
stance
900
is,
Kids there now.
if you eliminate
100
paper
kids.
towels from the
100
building, you eliminate that problem from the sewer system.
No, absolutely. And less organics going to the Lock
Right.
Haven sewer system. Trust me, I get the whole logic. What I'm saying is, me personally, as an individual, I don't like to fix something unless I really understand everything about the picture.
Right.
And I think the borough, they have a vested interest in this and they may partner with you. I mean, they're good people.
Mhm.
So if they go in and they find that our sewer line from the building going out to where it meets the other line is too small,
That's
So
life.
is the borough gonna pay for that to get us? Are they gonna partner with us to replace that line?
What do you
make it
think, Jeff?
bigger? I know what the answer to that is.
Well, then why'd you ask?
It's a rhetorical question. I'm
Okay.
saying, I know what the answer to it is. And so why would we want to spend that money?
So
If we can correct the problem a whole lot more inexpensively.
I'm not exactly sure what year the roof was replaced on that building,
Different times. They have a map. There's a map.
but something we're looking at right now, because the borough asked me the question, is about the roof drains. Do
Yeah.
the roof drains go to the sewer system, or do they go to the exterior of the building?
That,
Because if the roof drains go to the sewer system
mm-mm-mm,
and we're putting too much volume into the pipe,
big
that will
no-no.
also cause it to clog.
Exactly. So,
When they pull the clogs out, it's always paper towel.
well, that would make sense because that's the largest pieces going in there,
Mhm.
but that's what I'm saying. The detective work on the back end and the corrective action on the front end, that's how I plan things. And I see value in it. And if we find out that there's something that needs to be addressed, that, well, we're just gonna have to adapt and do what we need to do.
Okay, anything else?
Yes.
Okay, I have nothing else.
All right, super terrific.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
2:26. Thank you.